You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network. I'm Nicholas Callis. These are your game recaps and standing updates from Sunday, April the 19th, 2020. The Red Sox continue to struggle this season, losing to the Indians again in this series. Brad Hand now has 10 saves as the closer of the Indians, and the Red Sox remain in last place in the AL East. Moving to this interleague matchup, the Yankees brought the bats for this game, most notably in that fifth inning when they scored 10 runs. Final score 16-1. The Reds could only manage to get a run in the eighth inning. Other than that, they were blanked. Masahiro Tanaka got the win. He's now 3-0 on the season. And Luis Castillo, the known ace of the Reds, is now 1-3. AL East matchup between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Tampa Bay Rays went in the Blue Jays' favor. Blue Jays scored one run in the second inning, and that's all they needed. Chase Anderson got the win. He's now 2-3, and Charlie Morton is 2-1 now on the season. Rangers, White Sox, two teams toward the top of their respective divisions, and the Rangers came out on top of this matchup. Had some good offensive production throughout almost every inning in this game. Put up a 2-spot in the sixth, sprinkled some one-run innings in there, and that was good enough for them to win. Luke Farrell got the win. Lucas Giolito got his first losing decision of the season, and Jose Leclerc now with 7 saves on the year with the Rangers. Orioles and Royals played each other. This is a game that the Orioles ended up winning 4-3. The Royals struck first in the first inning. The Orioles took the lead in the fourth. The Royals took the lead back in the fifth. And then in the ninth, the Orioles scored 2 runs to come back and win it. Paul Fry got the win out of the bullpen. Ian Kennedy blew the save. He's now 0-1 in his decisions on the year. And Michael Givens got a save in the bottom of the ninth inning of this game. He now has 7 on the whole season. AL Central baseball between the Detroit Tigers and the Minnesota Twins. The Tigers have been on a winning stretch as of recent. They've had a good week of baseball, and they're moving out of the depths of the AL Central, especially with a win against one of the top teams in the AL Central being the Twins. Matthew Boyd got the win, Jake Odorizzi got the loss, and Joe Jimenez has had some save opportunities over the last week. He now has 5 this season. Moving to the AL West, the Seattle Mariners played the Oakland Athletics. This game also featured some offense. Each team's had 10 hits, but the Athletics were able to score just 1 more run than the Mariners. These two started out early with the offensive production, but you see the Athletics there put up a 2-run inning in the 6th, and that was the deciding factor in this one. Daniel Mengden got the win. Brennan got the loss. And Liam Hendriks now has 7 saves as closer of the A's. One of our games of the day here on Major League Baseball's virtual network. This was a well-played game between these two teams under the circumstances. And this was an AL West game. Zach Greinke gave up a run in the first inning. It was a home run to Anthony Rendon, but he rebounded nicely, totaled 2 earned runs, and he was able to earn the win. Shohei Ohtani pitched 4 1/3 innings, and he gave up 5 earned runs in his start. He got hit with the loss. He now has 3 losses on the year, and Roberto Ozuna came in with 2 outs in the 8th, and he took care of business. Now has 8 saves on the season with the Astros. Moving to the National League, the Atlanta Braves break their losing streak. They beat a Giants team that's been hot as of recent. And this was by a large margin. 8-1 was the final score of this one. The Braves scored 5 runs in the 3rd inning despite being down early. The Giants scored a run in the 1st. But that run did not hold up for very long. Sean Newcomb got the win. He's now 3-1. Jeff Samardzija now 1-2 on the season with the Giants. Cubs-Nationals played each other in what was primarily an offensive game. The Nationals had more run production, though, than the Cubs. The Cubs had 10 team hits. The Nationals had 14 team hits, but the Nationals scored 9 runs on those 14 hits compared to the Cubs scoring only 2 runs, one in the 6th and one in the 8th. Steven Strasburg got the win. He's now 3-1, and John Lester now 2-2 on the season. Brewers and Mets played each other. This game was close. Several one-run innings dominated this game. The Mets scored in the 4th, the 6th, and the 7th. The Brewers tried to come back in the 9th, scored a run, but could not complete the comeback. Each of these teams had 7 hits in total. Rick Porcello got the win. He's now 1-1 on the year. Adrian Hauser with the Brewers, yet to have a win in the starting rotation. He's 0-3, and Seth Lugo, though not the closer, he got the save. Pitching out of the bullpen, Edwin Diaz got a day off. Also, an injury update for the New York Mets. Third baseman J.D. Davis sustained an injury. He sprained his knee, and that's going to cause him to need some extended rest, so he'll be out for approximately 1 to 2 weeks. He was placed on the 10-day injured list. Our other game of the day here on Major League Baseball's virtual network, the Miami Marlins and the Philadelphia Phillies played this NL East matchup, and the Marlins came out on top. Got some offense from Corey Dickerson and others of the like, scored 4 runs on 10 hits. Phillies were only able to get 4 team hits and scored just 2 runs. Sandy Alcantara got the win. Jake Arrieta starting 2020 off slowly. He's 1-3. And Brandon Kinsler now has 7 saves as closer of the Marlins. Moving to the AL West, the San Diego Padres getting in a bit of a slump now after having a hot start to the season. The Diamondbacks beat them again. 8-2 was the final score of this game. Diamondbacks were able to come out early, scoring 3 runs in the first, and then had a 5-run 6th. That were 2 meaningful innings that really decided this game and made it lopsided. Robbie Ray now 4-1 on the season. Chris Paddock 1-2. He's responsible for the loss for giving up those 3 runs in the first and his team not being able to come back. And Merrill Kelly now with 1 save. This also impacts the Giants because the Giants lost today and so did the Padres. So we'll see how the NL West standings unfolded after today. Stay tuned for that in just a little bit. The Colorado Rockies doing well against the St. Louis Cardinals. 16-8 was the final score of this one. And a Rockies team that has struggled this season put up 13 runs against a respectable Cardinals team in the 2nd inning. And that really decided this one. German Marquez got the win. He's 2-2. And Dakota Hudson got the loss. He's 0-3 now on the season. And it seems the Rockies are enjoying having Trevor Story back in the lineup. Story was activated the other day off the injured list after going on the 10-day DL with a minor injury. And the Pirates and Dodgers played each other in another game of this series, and the Dodgers beat the Pirates again. Pirates lost 7-1 in this one. Pirates struck first, but then the Dodgers in the 6th put up 4 runs, and that was really all they needed. The Pirates did not score again past the 2nd inning. Walker Buehler got the win. He's undefeated in his decisions now. He's 4-0, and Joe Musgrove is now 2-2. Let's take a look at the standings now. Starting in the American League East, the New York Yankees, 13-9. They're on a 4-game winning streak, most recently beating the Reds, and they now lead the American League East again. The Toronto Blue Jays also won today. They beat the Rays. They're 12-10 now, and the Rays, who lost today to the Blue Jays, also 12-10. These two tied for 2nd place at a game back in the division. The Orioles are in 4th place with an 11-10 record. They're 1.5 games back. They've won 2 straight now against the Royals. And the Red Sox on a 4-game losing streak. They continue to stay in the basement of the American League East. They're 5-18, 8.5 games out. To the American League Central, the Chicago White Sox lost today to the Rangers, but be that as it may, they're still at the top of the AL Central, and by a rather significant margin, 3 games into the lead, trailed closely by the Minnesota Twins, who lost today to the Detroit Tigers. They're 12-10, 3 games back in the division. And you have the Cleveland Indians on a 4-game winning streak. They're 3-5, 12-11 is their record. Then the Kansas City Royals have lost 2 straight to the Orioles. They're 9-12, 5.5 games back. And the Detroit Tigers have now won 2 straight against the Twins. They're 6-15, 8.5 games out. But by beating the Twins, they're crawling closer and closer toward being in contention again, especially with the White Sox loss as well today. And to the American League West, the Houston Astros remain on top of the division after beating the Angels today. The Astros now 12-9. The Athletics trailing by a game, 12-11 is their record. The Rangers, who beat the White Sox today, stay in the middle of this division, 1.5 games back with an 11-11 record. Then you have the Seattle Mariners, who lost today. They're 10-13. And then the Angels lost to the Astros today, and they're 9-12 now. And here are the American League wildcard standings. Still not too important. Still too early in the season to really give these any significance, but here's a visual of where all the teams stand right now from a wildcard perspective. Moving on to the National League, the Washington Nationals are 14-7. The Nats beat the Cubs today, and they're still at the top of the division. The Marlins inching closer to the lead. The Marlins beat the Phillies today on a 2-game winning streak. Now are the Marlins. They're 13-9, and again, 1.5 games back of the division. The Phillies 11-12, 4 games out. The Phillies have lost 2 straight now to the Marlins and are 4 games back of the division lead. Then you have the Atlanta Braves. The Braves are 10-14. They won today. Despite that losing streak they were on pushed them further back in this division. They're 5.5 games out. And then the New York Mets are in 5th place with a 9-13 record, 5.5 games out, although they got a win today. To the National League Central, the Milwaukee Brewers have taken control of this division for now. They're 14-8, although they lost today. Trailed by the Cubs, who also lost. They're 13-9, still 1 game out of the division. St. Louis Cardinals on a 3-game skid now. They're 10-12, 4 games out of the division. And the Pittsburgh Pirates on a 5-game losing streak now, most recently losing to the Dodgers. Pirates are 9-13, 5 games out of the division lead. And then the Cincinnati Reds have now lost 3 straight, and they've been at the bottom of the division for the majority of this season. 7-14 record, 6.5 games out. To the National League West, the San Diego Padres lead this division. 15-6 is their record, although they still lead despite going on a 2-game losing streak. The Giants failed to capitalize today. The Braves beat the Giants, so the Giants are 14-8, still 1.5 games out of the division lead. Then you have the Diamondbacks, who are on a bit of a hot stretch, moving above a .500 winning percentage now. With this 4-game winning streak, they're 12-10 now, tied for 3rd place with the Dodgers, who have the same record and are also 3.5 games out of the division lead. And then the Rockies, who had an abysmal start to this season, on a 3-game winning streak now, and they're 5-16. Still in last place, still 10 games out, but with the Padres loss, they're moving closer to the higher places in the division. And just like the American League wildcard standings, the National League wildcard standings, same implications, which are not very many. But here's a visual of them anyhow. Don't forget, next week, next Sunday, we're going to start doing category leaders in this segment of results and standings. So be sure to tune in for that. We're going to break down league leaders between National League, average leaders, home run leaders, RBI leaders, and American League. average leaders, hits leaders, home runs leaders, RBI leaders. All of that will be covered. Pitchers' stats will be covered as well. So stick around for that. That's coming up next week, category leaders in this results and standings segment. So stick around for that. Look forward to that as well as this 2020 season progresses. But for now, these have been your game recaps and standing updates from Sunday, April the 19th, 2020. I'm Nicholas Callis. You've been watching Major League Baseball's Virtual Network.